When you and your husband move into a new apartment but start experiencing creepy things. A fan fiction by Bangtan Fiction World. The rain has been falling since morning, heavy and unrelenting. By the time Ryan and Jungkook reaches the third floor, their shoes squelched with each step. They stopped in front of a chipped wooden door 13B. The brass numbers hung crooked, as if they had been nailed back on too many times. They stepped inside. The apartment was dim despite it being midday. A faint draft brushed past their ankles. The air smelled faintly a mildew and something sweet. Jungkook set the last box down. Why is it so cold in here? The radiator is on. Before Ryan could answer, the door behind them swung shut. A heavy click of deadbolt echoed twice. Neither of them had touched it. Ryan gave a small laugh, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Old building, she muttered, though her stomach knotted. Night. Ryan woke up to silence so thick it pressed against her ears. The air felt heavier than when she fell asleep. She glanced at the clock, 3:17 a.m. Came the humming, low, slow, almost like a lullaby. It seeped from closet, each note dragging longer than the last. She froze, straining to listen. Jungkook, she whispered, but the other side of the bed was cold. The closet door creaked open. Inside, a mannequin stood facing the wall, dressed in a torn wedding gown that trailed across the floor. The lace was white, the veil stiff with age. Vine's voice trembled. Who put there? The mannequin's head turned just a fraction towards her. The bedroom lights flickered violently, buzzing like angry bees, then went out completely. Vine clutched the blanket to her chest, heart pounding. When the lights returned, the closet was empty. The gown was gone. A shadow shifted by a window. Babe, Jungkook's voice broke the stillness. She let out a shaky breath. God, you scared me. Where were you? He tilted his head slightly, as if the question puzzled him. Bathroom, I think. You think? She forced a nervous laugh. Were you sleepwalking? Maybe. He walked towards the bed, his head damp at the ends. Why are you awake? Ryan, I thought I heard something. Jungkook, must have been your imagination. He slid under the cover beside her, brushing a cool hand against her cheek. Ryan nodded, not noticing the small puddle forming on the wooden floor beside his side of the bed. The next day, Ryan knocked on the door across the hall. Namjoon answered. Jin hovered behind him, his expression tense. Namjoon squinting. You are in 13B. Ryan hesitated, then nodded slowly. Ryan, is there something wrong with it? Jin's eyes flickered to Namjoon, then back to Ryan, his voice barely a whisper. Jin, that place has a bride. Ryan brows knitted together. Ryan, a bride? Namjoon's jaw tightened. He glanced over his shoulder, then stepped aside. Namjoon, come in. This isn't something we should talk about in the hallway. The air was heavy with incense. Candles flickered on the coffee table. Jin sat stiffly on the couch while Namjoon closed the door behind Ryan. Namjoon Lo, in your apartment there is a mirror covered in a black cloth. Whatever happens, do not uncover it. A chill crawled down Ryan's spine. Ryan, what happens if someone does? Jin swallowed hard, eyes distant. Jin, the last tenant he touched it. 3 days later they found him in the stairwell, standing there smiling, eyes wide open, but he wasn't alive anymore. Ryan, and you're saying the bride? Namjoon cuts in sharp. Namjoon, she took him and she'll take anyone who sets her free. He leaned forward, lowering his voice further. Namjoon, years ago when the building was just constructed, a newlywed couple moved into 13B. They had been married for 2 weeks. He left for work one morning and never came back. The neighbors heard her screaming, but by the time they broke in, she was gone. Jin, they found her wedding dress in the bathtub, soaked through. No body, no blood, just water, and her veil hanging from the mirror frame. Namjoon, some say the husband locked her in, others say she drowned herself, but everyone agrees she never left that apartment. Jin, lowering his voice to a whisper, and every few years someone sees her in the mirror, smiling, waiting. That night, Vine wasn't sure if she was awake or dreaming. She found herself barefoot on the cold storeroom floor, the air damp and heavy. The flickering light revealed the laundry machines, and behind them a door, chained shut. The chain rattled on its own and fell away, landing with a dull thud. She stepped inside. The mirror loomed in the center, tall and ancient. The black cloth was already gone. Wine froze. Her breath quickened. Someone had been here before her. From the corner of her eye, she swore she saw a movement in the glass, but it wasn't hers. Wine's reflection stood perfectly still until it smiled. The basement light buzzed, then went out. A faint rustle of fabric, like a wedding dress, dragging across the floor, echoed behind her. A hand seized her throat from behind. Van gasped, awake in bed. Jungkook sat beside her, eyes dark but soft. Bad dream? She nodded. It felt real. He kissed her forehead. You are safe. Relief lasted only a second until she saw the mannequin in the corner, gown brushing the floor, its head tilted towards the bed. Jungkook, Van whispered. She just wanted to see you, he said, smiling creepily. The mannequin started moving towards her. Van screamed and sat up in bed, Van whispering to herself, voice shaky. It felt so real. She glances at Jungkook sleeping beside her, peaceful and unaware. She hesitates, then shakes his shoulder urgently. Van, cook, wake up. Jungkook, rocky, half opening his eyes. Baby, it's 3 a.m. What happened? Bad dream? Van, voice cracking. I don't think it was just a dream. We need to leave this house. Jungkook frowning, sitting up. Leave at this hour? Where are we even going to find another place in such a short time? Van gripping his hand tightly. I don't care where. A hotel, a friend's place, anywhere but here. I feel like this house doesn't want us here, cook like it's. She stops, glancing towards the dark corner of the room as if sensing something. Her breathing quickens. Jungkook, Van, you're scaring me. Tell me what happened. Vian, voice trembling, I saw her, the same woman from before in my dreams. She was standing over you. Her hand was. She chokes on her words. I'm not staying here another night. Jungkook looks at her, reading the fear in her eyes. He pulls her into his arms, rubbing her back. Jungkook softly, okay, we'll pack our bags and go right now. As they get out of the bed and start gathering their things, the faint sound of floorboards cracking echoes from the hallway, even though no one else is supposed to be there. Van stood at the front door, clutching her bag so tightly her knuckles were white. Jungkook's hand trembled on the door knob. He turned it. Click, nothing. He tried again, harder. The knob rattled violently, but the door didn't budge. Van voice breaking. It's not locked, it's just not opening. Jungkook confused, forcing a laugh. Maybe the wooden is swollen or the knob twisted on its own. He froze. Van's eyes widened. Van, Jungkook, you're not touching it right. He stepped back instantly. Jungkook, we are getting out another way. They ran to the windows. Van yanked the latches. Jungkook slammed his shoulders against the glass, solid like stone. Van panting. No, no, this isn't possible. They searched every door, every window, even attic hatch, all sealed. Jungkook frustrated. It's like he doesn't want us to leave. The faint hum began again from the hallway. Van whispering. It's getting closer. The sunlight outside dimmed, shadows stretching unnaturally across the floor. Jungkook grabbing her wrist. Don't look at it. Whatever you do, don't look. The air turned cold. They breathed misting in front of them. A whisper slithered through the silence. You belong here. Jungkook gripped tighten. Run. The next 3 days blurred into a waking nightmare. Every time Vian glanced into the dusty wall mirror of their locked room, the reflection betrayed her. Pale stranger staring back instead of her own face. One day it was Jen, expression blank, lips moving but no sound. The next Namjoon, eyes almost bleeding. And sometimes shadows that didn't even have a name. Jungkook swore he never saw a thing. He'd stand beside her, their reflections perfectly normal to him. His voice calm but his grip a little too tight when she lingered by the glass. On the third day she woke to silence. The heavy door, the one that had stayed bolted shut, was standing open. No creak, no slam, just open. Jungkook took her hand. Let's go. They stepped into the daylight, blinking like they hadn't seen the sun in years. Neither spoke about what they had seen, what they had heard, or how they had survived without food or water. 1 month later, new apartment evening. Their new apartment smelled faintly of fresh paint and cardboard. Unopened boxes lean against the bare white walls. A faint city hum filters through the half-open window. After weeks of sleeping on couches and tiptoeing around their relatives' cramped home, they finally had a place to call their own. The silence here was unfamiliar, almost too quiet, yet it wrapped around them like a long-awaited breath of freedom. Jungkook sets down the last box, glancing around and forces a small smile. Jungkook, everything will be alright. Ryan nods, though her eyes flicker briefly to the empty hallway beyond their door. Later that night, she kneels by her bag, unpacking slowly, sweater, water bottle, a book, and then something she never packed. A small brass key. Her name is carved into it in a delicate, unfamiliar handwriting. She frowns, turning it in her fingers. From somewhere deep in the hallway, a low hum begins to rise, familiar and wrong. Van turns towards Jungkook's voice in the kitchen. Wine, hey cook, do you know? Her words die in her throat. He's standing in the doorway, smiling far too wide. His skin is pale as wax. And in the corner of their new apartment, swallowed by a shadow, stands the mannequin. The end.